Welcome to the Shalom Hartman Institute orientation for the Engaging Israel Foundations for a New Relationship video lecture series. In the next 10 minutes, I will briefly walk you through the curriculum and some best practices for structuring your iEngage course, preparing for facilitation, and utilizing the resources that come with your iEngage purchase. Engaging Israel Foundations for a New Relationship is the first course in our iEngage series. We created this course for rabbis or educators to engage their communities in a different kind of Israel conversation and learning experience. 400 congregations throughout North America and the world have already used this groundbreaking curriculum. Through text-based learning, video lectures, and interviews with Hartman scholars and public intellectuals, this course will help you convene a conversation about what it means to be a Jew living in an age of Jewish sovereignty, and the ethical challenges and opportunities that face the Jewish people and the State of Israel as a result. The Engaging Israel project attempts to construct a new narrative and language for establishing the relationship between Israel and world Jewry, a narrative responding to the central dilemmas that are increasingly causing alienation among Jews. This course focuses on two core issues: why Jews need a Jewish state today, and whether this state can be a moral and democratic one. The unique methodology of iEngage enables Jews to put both the aspirations and the difficulties that they experience with Israel on the table. In this manner, a relationship can be created that does not demand blind acceptance, but rather calls for a commitment to participate in a conversation that will contribute to the nation that each Jew believes Israel can and ought to be. I'd like to begin by reviewing with you what you can expect to receive when you order this curriculum. First, you will receive a box set. Inside, there is a USB drive that contains the entire video course and a video leader's guide in which Daniel teaches you, the facilitator, all the sources in the source book and how to teach them. In addition, you will find one copy of the student source book, which has all the primary texts for the course. And we certainly recommend that you purchase individually additional source books for every participant in your course, which you can do online at $20 a piece. And finally, in your toolkit, you will receive a brief written leader's guide, which offers recommended Chavruta discussion questions for each unit. I'll share with you a very brief overview of the 9-part curriculum, which starts in Lecture 1 with an introductory session that suggests it's time to move from a crisis-based narrative to a values-based narrative and sets out the methodology for this course. The values, which we will be discussing in this course, include peoplehood, sovereignty, power, and democracy. So in Unit 2, we begin with the value of Jewish peoplehood. And then in Unit 3, we explore sovereignty and what is different in Jewish identity and in the Jewish world today now that we have a sovereign state of Israel. And Units 4, 5, and 6 all explore the challenges and the ethical dilemmas that face us now that we are a people who wield power. And what does it mean to be a people of power? How do we engage in war ethically, particularly an asymmetrical war against a terrorist enemy? And then we move on in Lectures 7 and 8 in those units to explore the question of democracy and whether Israel can be both a Jewish and democratic state, exploring the questions of religious pluralism and treatment of minorities in Israel. And finally, we end in Unit 9 with a discussion of what it might mean to be a values nation and which Jewish values we would like to see actualized in the Jewish state. What is Jewish about the Jewish state? All 9 of these units are based in classical Jewish texts, primarily biblical and rabbinic texts, as well as some contemporary readings. Most facilitators will structure this course as a 9-session course, devoting 2 to 2.5 hours for each unit. If that is not possible in the culture of your community in your adult learning, then there's also the option of spreading out the course as an 18-part series, where you devote 2 sessions to each unit, and each session is an hour to an hour and a half. And finally, there's the option, of course, to abbreviate this course. Each of these units, in a way, can serve as a modular unit, and we want you to feel that this resource is your resource to use for you to be flexible and to make decisions based on your educational goals. Which means of the 9 units, if you only have 6 sessions, you might choose to start with the introductory unit, focus on peoplehood, and skip to the units on democracy. So you may choose that power and the dilemmas of ethics in war is the core issue your community is facing, and that you'll focus on those units. If you need advice or suggestions on how to abbreviate this course, I hope you will feel comfortable to reach out to me. I am a resource for you at any time, and I can help you select from these units and suggest which units might be combined or which units you might skip. In any given session for a unit, there's several different ways to structure your learning experience. One way, and maybe the most classical way, is to begin by studying the sources in the source book with your students, either in Chavruta, in a Beit Midrash setting, or as a group-guided learning experience. And once you've studied the sources in the source book, then you would watch Daniel's lecture and or selections of the interview. And then you would leave at least a half an hour for dialogue and discussion. But for some units, you may decide, given the nature of the topic and the lecture, that you want to show Daniel's lecture first as the trigger, and then study the sources in the source book, watch the interview if there's time, and then discuss. And finally, given the new online platform, which we call Hartman Online, where you and your students will both have access to all of the course materials in an online platform, it enables you to structure your course as a flipped learning experience where you assign the videos for your students to watch at home at their convenience on Hartman Online, and to come into class to study the sources and be ready for discussion. The best way for you to make a decision about how to structure any given session and any given unit is really the way that you as the facilitator prepare. So I want to recommend what I think is the best way for you to prepare, and it definitely entails several hours of your own time in preparation, that you first watch the lecture for a given unit and study all the sources yourself in the source book. Then watch Daniel's video training course, where he will take you through all those sources and why they're in the source book and how to teach them. Then watch the interview and read all the background readings. Read the recommended Chavruta questions at the written leader's guide. And then you'll be ready to make your own decision about the lesson plan and the flow for that particular unit. And in some units, you may decide, I can summarize Daniel's lecture points myself, and I would rather spend the 25 minutes of video viewing time showing the interview. In other units, as I mentioned, you might decide it's very crucial to study the text first before you watch the lecture. And in other units, you might like the lecture as a trigger to excite students to explore a topic and then to study the text with them. And finally, I'll just suggest where you can find ongoing resources and background readings. If you go to our website at iEngage.org.il, you'll find the background readings for this course, but you'll also find continually updated ongoing resources such as blogs, articles, archives of lectures. And that's a wonderful resource both for you as the facilitator, but also for your students. There you'll also find marketing resources, sample synagogue flyers, and camera-ready artwork for you to create your PR materials as you market this course. And finally, I want to mention this wonderful resource of Hartman Online. When you order this curriculum, you will receive an automated email message with your special leader's password to access the Hartman Online system, where you will find the entire course, the lectures, the interviews, background readings, the source book, and for you as the leader, you will also find the video leader's guide and the written leader's guide there at Hartman Online. You'll also have a special community code that you can share with your students so that they can create their own accounts at Hartman Online, and they'll have access to the entire course and all the materials except the leader's guide. And finally, I just want to say that we're thrilled you've chosen to use the Engaging Israel curriculum in your community and to convene a values-based and text-based conversation about Israel. And we hope it will truly transform your community in the way in which you can talk about Israel in a new way. But I'm always here for you, and please feel free to reach out to me at any time with questions about the curriculum throughout your course. You can reach me at lauren@shalomhartman.org, and I look forward to working with you to help transform the Israel conversation in your community. Thank you.